This video is going to be on the ALEKS topic, making an inference using a two-way frequency table. In this problem, a group of 125 students were asked whether they have a curfew and whether they have chores at home. Their responses are summarized in the following table. So this is what's called a two-way frequency table because we're measuring two variables and comparing them. Having chores and not versus having a curfew or not. We're going to answer three questions here. So first, what percentage of students have a curfew? Since we're only talking about the curfew variable, we're going to find have a curfew. It's right here. And this is in this row. So we're going to take all of the students, and it's really asking us how many people fall into this row. So let's see, 37 plus 33, which is 70. And then we have to take into account how many total students are there here. Well, it tells us 125, and if you add up all of them, total number of students is 125. Now, since it wants it as a percentage, we're going to have to multiply our answer times 100. We don't want a decimal, we want a percent. So let's go ahead and do 70. 70 divided by 125. That's 0.56. So if we multiply by 100, we should get 56%. Okay, let's look at B. This is asking us what percentage of students don't have chores. Now here's don't have chores. This is in a column. So we're going to total up this column. That's 33 plus 27. Let's see, that's 50 and 10, 60. And this is still out of the total number of students, 125 students. And our answer, excuse me, we're going to have to multiply times 100 because this is still asking for a percentage. And our result should be a little less than 50%, right? Because 60 divided by 120 would be 50%. A little less than half of the students don't have chores, which is hard to believe, I know. So that would be 48%. All right. So 48% of students don't have chores. Now this next question is asking us what percentage of the students who don't have chores have a curfew? So this is actually asking us to look at both variables on the frequency table. So don't have chores is this column, and then have a curfew is this row. So don't have chores, have a curfew is just this value right here, right? So 33 of them. Now here's the other tricky part. It says, what percentage of the students who don't have chores have a curfew? So since we're saying, what percentage of the students who don't have chores, right? So because of that, we're dividing it by the total of students who don't have chores because it's just talking about them, right? So we're not dividing by 125 anymore. We're dividing by the students who don't have chores, which we said was 33 plus 27 or 60. So we're going to do 33 divided by 60 times 100 for the percentage. Okay, so that's the tricky part of this. We're thinking of which students are we looking at. We're only looking at a row or a column. So this would be 33 divided by 60, 0.55 times 100, 55%. Okay, and in D, this is the trickiest one. So is there evidence that students who don't have chores tend to have a curfew more often than average? So the operative phrase right here is tend to have a curfew, right? So we're looking at the curfew and whether they actually have it more often than average or not. So the average just means overall. So think about the average as what we already found about our curfews. Well, let's see. Our curfew students, we found that in A. We said they had 56%. So the average of students who have a curfew was 56%. So we're doing 56% versus the students who don't have chores having a curfew, right? don't have chores having a curfew, that was what we calculated here. So we're really doing 56% versus 55%. So what it's asking us is there evidence that there's one group that has it more than the average? Not really, right? 56% versus 55%. What this question is really asking us is there a big difference between the percentages of the populations? And since there's not, we would pick no. So is it A or B? Is it our first option or our second option? Well, let's think. We used the information from part A here, right? This was part A, and then we used that information and compared it to the information in part C, right? So we didn't use the information from part B because we're not asking about comparing them on the tending to have chores. We're wondering about comparing them on the basis of a curfew. So we used C and A, not B. So you would pick this first one right here.